Good afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister. Good news. Glad to hear about the SIDF absorbing the energy charge as well as the other areas that they plan to assist the consumers in. But I digress. What are your plans with respect to the motion of no confidence? Will you resign, table this resolution, call for an election, or is there another option available to you? Two, what has been the delay with presenting the budget? It's been almost 3 months since it was scheduled to come before the Parliament. And three, what is your mindset now that two of your closest comrades for so many years are now leading the charge against you and have become probably your fiercest critics in former Minister Harris and former Minister Condor? Thank you.
Thank you. Right. The motion of no confidence. What will happen when the motion comes? First of all, the motion will be debated in our Parliament. I believe that the government will treat this motion in Parliament as a very important opportunity to respond to a number of the preamble charges that have been outlined in the motion itself. Of course, we would use the opportunity to demonstrate how the government has been able to lead this country through a very difficult period, ensuring that we would have been able to keep our country afloat beyond expectations, and even doing much better than other countries who have been less challenged than our own. We would use the opportunity to impress upon the Parliament and our nation what we have achieved, especially in our social development, healthcare, education, community development, tackling the very difficult issue of crime and violence. We would be able to, of course, show that we would have overcome some of the most difficult challenges that we face economically, the debt situation, the St. Kitts Nevis debt cliff, as some people have already dubbed it, how we would have been able to reduce our high, unsustainable debt position to where it has now become almost halved. I believe that with this kind of presentation from the government side, I would assume, of course, that if those who are in Parliament and listening to the government's strong position of defense of its activities over the last 3 years since we have been in Parliament, would vote in support not of the motion, but of the government's performance. And I would be surprised if that motion is in fact accepted by the Parliament to the point where I would have to make any decision at all.
So in other words, it's your intention to table... It's your intention to table the motion, not head towards election, or definitely not resign?
Well, first of all, it is not my intention to table what I don't have. Remember that the motion was brought to the clerk of the House to be presented to the House with the intervention of the Speaker. And so it is not for me to table anything at all to the House. But I expect that the motion would come. And my cabinet has already begun to prepare what exactly it would do in defense of its position against the charges that are preamble charges in the motion itself.
But it's been so long. I mean, usually these matters are disposed of within days, weeks. It's been months since ours has been put before the clerk. Why is that? And how much longer does the country have to wait to have this matter resolved?
Well, as far as I know, there is no law that says when a motion of no confidence will come before the Parliament. I think all of the authorities will indicate that a motion of no confidence is a very serious motion that has to be brought to the Parliament for debate. There's no question about that, and my government treats it in that way. But in terms of when it will come, I don't believe that there is any particular qualifying law that states when it must come. We have said here in this country and in other countries that it must be treated with priority. But the government's business is also of highest priority. One of the things, for example, that we will not do, or I would hate to see done, is to deprive our citizens and our own public servants who have served the interests of our government in the past. I would hate to see them deprived of their support systems through the passage of a budget that would allow that to take place. And that is why we have been very consistent in saying that the budget should come before. I'm informed by my financial secretary just yesterday that we are almost at the point of bringing this budget, having the budget ready to be brought to the parliament. And as soon as that is going to be ready, I'm sure that maybe within a week or so, I should be able to announce, as the usual order is, when the budget will be presented. The other question that you've asked, well, I touched on the budget because you said, when is the budget going to come?
But you didn't speak to what caused the delay.
What caused the delay?
The last time you said it was because Mr. Harris and Mr. Condor
Right.
were not present for
Right.
the budget meeting.
Right.
So
Yes.
that was in December.
Right.
Since then, what
Well,
has
since
happened
then,
to
the budget
cause the
has
delay?
had to be rewritten, naturally.
Had to what?
Had to be rewritten. The budget presentation has had to be rewritten. A number of activities that we had identified in the budget for 2013 are already being rolled out. I can't be reading a budget that says this will be done when it is in fact being done. So it has to be rewritten. The language has to be changed, and that is being done as I speak to you. Sorry? And so, as I said yesterday, the financial secretary informed me that we are almost there. And as soon as it is completed, the budget will be presented to our parliament. I want to emphasize that we must have authority to spend money that we are collecting, and we must have authority to collect money that we intend to spend. I am not certain what would be the outcome of a motion of no confidence, but I would hate to take the country into a situation where money is going to be required for that situation, and the parliament has not properly met to give authority for the spending of such monies. And so no major activity, I think, for this fiscal year should be undertaken unless the appropriate authority has been received. The mindset I have today is what I always had. I don't think you understand that what happened in December was something that has been in the making for years. It's just that it has taken maybe, should I say, courage or frustration on some people's part to eventually come forward. But those who are described by you as my fiercest critics have always been. It's just that maybe you are not hearing it publicly. But I'm aware that it has always been. And so there's nothing new here, my dear. What is new, however, is that yesterday, my two colleagues, former colleagues, signed a document that says to the world, says to the governor, says to the parliament, says to the cabinet, says to the people of this country, says to the world, that they are no longer. So in case you were confused, they're saying, don't be confused. We are no longer. They're saying, Mrs. Harris and Condor, we are no longer off and with the Labour Party government. We are with the opposition. We are with PAM. That's what they're saying. And they have signed on a document that states that. We are no longer with Labour. We are with PAM. That is what is significant. But I always knew that. It's just that the people did not know that. So they were told that yesterday. Let's move on. Next question.